Are you considering to studying in Australia in 2021, or maybe still hesitated because the global pandemic doesn't seem to be contained in any time soon? Hello guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Billy Lu and I'm an international student in Australian National University. In this video, I'll be showing you how I got my master's offer in ANU in 2021 DIY. I'll be breaking down my application process into different phases, and I will show you my personal timeline so you can have a better understanding on planning out your own. All of the website I will mention will be linked in the description below, and I put the time steps here so you can skip to any sections you want. With all that out of the way, let's get on to my journey. So a single question you need to ask yourself before planning everything out is, what is your ultimate goal of studying abroad? We all know that studying abroad can be so much fun. You can experience a brand new culture, make friends from all over the world, or even pick up a new language. But it's also very pricey if you don't get the scholarship. And above all that, it's just a temporary phase of your life. 2 to 3 years of studies is very short comparing to your whole academic and work career. But if you can make the best out of it, I do believe it's a game changer. I got my bachelor's degree in Shanghai 2 years ago, and actually a lot of my friends had already got their master's degree abroad and came back to China. So what's the most refreshing feeling of them is not how they achieve academically, obviously I don't know that, but how confident and compelling they are when they tell the story of their experience. I have to emphasize on the experience because it does sound a little bit luxurious, spending $1,000 just to study abroad and get the experience. But to me, actually the biggest part of studying abroad is that I can broaden my horizon and get myself out of the comfort zone, because that will really boost my confidence in the long run, knowing that I've went through all this hardship all by myself, and in the future, in any new environment, I know that I can thrive. And apart from that, there are students from all over the world in the university, and I'm definitely expecting to make friends with them. Because they're from totally different culture background, that's just gonna be very fun to get to know them. I do believe that most of my friends who study abroad because number one, they want to have a master's degree, and number two, they want to be more competent in the future work market. That's actually quite true, because I started working since 2019, and at that time, a lot of my competitors in the interviews have like degrees from the US, from the UK, and I have to admit that it really made them stand out from the crowd. In the international companies that I worked with before, like Diamond Foundry and Louis Vuitton, I have to say that almost all the management level has a Western education background. I'm not saying you can't find a good job without studying abroad, but if your plan is to work in a transnational enterprise in the future, then studying abroad is definitely a plus. With that being said, if your plan is to come back to your home country after graduation, then you should definitely check the university ranking and apply for a school that is well known and accredited in your home country, or schools with name that people can immediately recognize, like University of Sydney or University of Melbourne. And I will link the mainstream university ranking websites on the description so you can check for yourself. Also, look into the city. I have to say that the city is half of the experience, because it does not only determine what your after-school lifestyle is, it can also provide you with different options for internships and part-time jobs. And as we all know, that is so essential when you apply for your full-time job. This part is where it can get a little bit complicated. because you need to not only research for the schools and the degrees, but also the countries and their policies. To legally work in the foreign country, you will need a working visa or PR, namely the green card, basically. In reality, most countries wouldn't automatically give you a working visa after graduation, and most employees wouldn't hire a fresh graduate without a valid working visa or permanent residency. So that's where it can get a little bit tricky. Even though in Australia you can get a 2 to 3 years working visa after your graduation, but I still think that most employers would hire someone who has a permanent residency. They will put in a requirement in their job description, like they only hire someone who is a resident. So when you pick a school, it's better that if you choose this country that is immigration friendly, like Canada or Australia, that will give you much better chances to be able to stay and live in the country and work there after, even though you don't have to stay there forever. And take Australia for example, some regions have better policy than others. Now the regional areas are more welcome to immigrants than the larger cities. So the states and the cities is also a factor that you need to consider. So if your goal is to stay in that country after study, then the ranking and the reputation of the university may not be the most important factor. Instead, the region and the policy may determine the chances that you can get a job or maybe even get a PR in that country. Now I want you to really take a moment and think through what is your goal for your study. And once that is clear, let's get into the next part of my video, which is my schedule for applying. My whole process took about a year. So first, you need to choose your country, whether it's one or two. You have to know that it's never too bad to explore more options. Number two, research for schools. You need to find the schools that interest you based on your goal of study and your interest. Knowing that the ranking of a university basically determines the academic level and the difficulty of application, I strongly suggest that you choose schools that cover all difficulty range, so in the end you won't worry about that you don't get any offer. Take Australia for an example. I don't think there are too many universities in this country in total, so I suggest that you research for all the mainstream schools here. Number three, choose a degree and know their requirement. You should know that not all the university has the major that you're particularly looking for, and the same majors may have different requirements in different schools. So you need to balance the overall ranking of the university, the ranking of your major, and your competence, together with all the factors that you care about. Number four is be financially prepared. That was actually my number one obstacle in my whole journey. As we all know, studying Australian as an international student is crazy expensive, and I couldn't save up any money working in Shanghai. So I had to persuade my parents to sponsor me, and that took me years. And I'm so happy that they finally agreed. I'm really grateful, appreciate, love them. Number five is to find an agent. Of course, that's optional, but agents in Australia are free, so why not? You may question that, how is it possible? Well, agents in Australia and New Zealand, or maybe many other countries, work with the schools. If they successfully brought international students to the school, they will get the commission from the tuition you pay for the school. So in Australia, it's absolutely free to consult with the agent. I do know that many agents in China charge the students and get commission from the school at the same time. So what is it like in your country? Leave me a comment below. Of course, you could find an agent from day one to help you do the research and help your application. But in my opinion, studying abroad is a huge decision, and you should totally do research and be responsible for the decision you make. Not all the agents are professional. So I highly recommend that you do your research first and choose a reliable engine to assist with your application. Number 6, do your language test. I do know that a lot of engines will ask you to do the application first to get an unconditional offer and then do your language test. But I personally did my IELTS test before my application because that kind of determined what majors and school I was going to apply for. In my opinion, it's always better to start prepare for the language test as early as you can. Well, studying the test techniques may sound easy, but you cannot master a language overnight. It actually takes years and years of practice, and you can always improve. In my own case, I started to study English when I was 12, and I've been living my whole life in China. It took me 4 years to do the IELTS for 4 times to finally get the overall 7.5 that I wanted. So if you'd like to know how I prepare for my IELTS test, please leave a comment below and I'll probably make a video in the future. That is about to wrap up all I did before my application. I actually let my engine to do the application itself, so it really wasn't too much trouble for me. And in the last part of this video, I will share with you my personal timeline for the application so you can create one for your own this year. As I mentioned, my whole application took about a year. I started to have this idea of studying in Australia in June 2019 when I graduated. But at that time, I really didn't know anything about schools in Australia, how to apply, or even have a financial sponsor. So I decided to give myself enough time to figure everything out. I started to prepare for IELTS test back then, and I also worked full-time. In February 2020, during the Chinese New Year, I went back to my hometown, made a presentation to my parents, and finally persuade them to sponsor me to study abroad. As we all know, the COVID-19 just started to spread around the world back then, so it really wasn't a good news for the international students. I made a bold prediction that everything was going to be okay in 2021, so I plan to apply for semester 1 in 2021, which starts in February, thinking everything is gonna be okay by then, but look at it now. Anyway, the application for semester 1 started in September or October in the previous year, which was 2020. So I decided to take my IELTS test for the first time in July, thinking that if I mess the first one up, I still have time to do another one before the application started. I ended up taking the IELTS test twice before I get my ideal score, and I applied for ANU on the 10th of September last year. I also applied for University of Queensland after, and I got the offers on the 13th of October, which was really fast. Eventually, I got the offer from Australian National University on the 27th of December, which actually took a long time. And I will start my degree online on the 22nd of February. As you probably know, the Australian border is still closed, which means I can't really go to Australia when my semester starts, which really sucks. But my hope is, since the vaccines is available now and Australia is getting it starting from February, and it should be okay soon. Like, my hope is I can go to Australia before July, which is the second semester. But for you, if you just started to plan to study abroad, which will probably take a year, and that should leave you plenty time to do all the preparation, but also for the world to get better, so we can all travel again. I really hope this video will help you a little bit on understanding what is it like to study abroad now, and maybe provide you with some information so you can decide whether you want to start applying soon. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. I will post more videos on studying in Australia in the future, and I hope to see you soon. Peace out.